My name's Ken Addis, and I'm Drew's grandfather. But 2 weeks ago, I was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. So Drew had an idea that he would take me around to all of the spots in Center County that were significant to me during the 62 years that we have lived here.
We all grow old eventually, but no matter where you're from or where you've lived, everyone has a story to share of how their life unfolds. Today we're in central Pennsylvania, a place offering a peaceful and picturesque slice of rural America. At a glimpse, it might seem boring, but as you dig deeper, there's actually a lot going on here. It's the place that my grandfather has spent most of his life, and a place that's also close to my heart. So let's look back and get a feel for what it's like spending so much time here. So I figured I'd make a video going around in central Pennsylvania and what it's like to live here and raising a family in this beautiful area. It's a very underrated place, as I think you guys will see throughout the video. Okay, so where were you born and how did you end up in Pennsylvania?
Well, I was born in Spokane, Washington. I'm an Army brat, so we moved extensively during my childhood. And in 1950, we moved from Fort Cherry, Illinois to Phoenixville, Pennsylvania. So I went to school in the Spring City, which is close to Phoenixville.
Springford High School?
It's now Springford
Now
High
Springford
School.
High School.
And when I graduated, at the advice of my football coach, he suggested I go to Lock Haven University. It was Lock Haven State Teachers College at that time in the 50s. So I attended here at Lock Haven for 4 years, and I graduated in 1958, and I met my wife, Mary, here at Lock Haven, and while she was a senior and I was teaching school back in Spring City, I proposed to her, and she said yes.
In a parking lot.
In a parking lot, in a car. And we just celebrated our 65th wedding anniversary in June.
So we're starting the tour here at Lock Haven University.
Yeah.
Where it all kind of, I guess, began.
It began,
Exactly.
right.
What was it like going to school here back in the day?
Well, back in the 50s, when we attended, it was primarily a phys ed school and an elementary education training school for teachers.
With the campus here, how has it changed since you went here? Are any places the same? Do you recognize anything? Both of you.
Very little. It's completely changed other than this building directly behind us.
Rogers Gym.
The gymnasium.
Yes.
And since I was a phys ed major, a lot of our classes were in Rogers Gym.
Yeah. I started out as a phys ed major too.
And although it's been renovated, Thomas Fieldhouse is across the street here, and that's where we both saw our first collegiate wrestling matches. And of course, if you know anything about Lock Haven, it's known as a wrestling school. They're ranked nationally in the top 25 every year, and it continues
Still today.
Yeah.
Still
even
today.
And even with it being such a small school.
Yeah.
Right.
I think there's about 1,500 enrollment now. When we were here, it was about 500. I graduated in 1958, and my wife graduated in 1959. And that was just before I had to go into the Army. So we spent a 6-week honeymoon going back to Spokane, Washington, where my parents lived. And I ended up going to the Army. I went to Fort Jackson, South Carolina for basic. And then I went to intelligence school in Dundalk, Maryland, close to Baltimore. And following graduating from the school, I ended up working in the Pentagon for a year. And following that, I received orders for Korea. So I spent 14 months in Seoul, Korea. And I got out of the Army in 1962.
So in 1962, when you got back from Korea, what happened next?
I obtained a position as personnel and training supervisor in the Department of Housing and Food Services at Penn State University.
Okay, and that's where we're going to head next on our tour. So back into State College. Okay, we made our way over from Lock Haven to State College, and now we're on the campus at Penn State. And we're standing here, the parking lot in between the Keller building and the Nittany Lion Inn. So you first went to the Keller building.
Yeah, when I first came to Penn State, I was employed in housing and food services, sort of on the edge of the campus. I was there for about 3 years, and then I moved to continuing education conference center, which was in the Keller building here behind us. So I spent from about 1966 to 1991 working in the Keller building. I was coordinating conferences. Part of my responsibilities was the executive programs sponsored by the College of Business. Well, that grew and grew, where I was full-time on executive programs. And while initially the participants stayed in the Beta House on campus, but the Beta House was not air-conditioned. So eventually we moved the housing and food service to the Nittany Lion Inn. And therefore, all of the participants of the program stayed at the Nittany Lion Inn, which really did a good service for the executives.
And then how long did you spend in there?
Well, we were at the Nittany Lion Inn as long as I ran the programs, which I ran the program up until about 2 or 3 years before I retired in 1991 as assistant director of the conference center, which was in Keller.
So then behind the Nittany Lion Inn is the recreation building, or rec hall as most people know it. And you spent a lot of time in there as well.
Well, so I joined the emergency first aid team for football games at Beaver Stadium. During events in Rec Hall, they always had 2 of us from the team at all of the events. So I saw many basketball games, many wrestling meets, many gymnastics meets, all kinds of events. So I spent a total of about 34 years working emergency first aid in Beaver Stadium during football games and at Rec Hall during winter events.
All right, so I guess we had to stop here at some point. So when was your first game here?
I joined the emergency first aid team in 1963, and I was providing medical services in the stands at that particular time. Probably 5 or 6 years later, a good friend of mine and I ended up providing the services in the press box. So I spent probably the next 30 years working in the press box.
And then when did you become a season ticket holder?
I'm not sure the year. It was whenever I stopped working for emergency services.
Okay.
That then I became a season ticket holder, and I knew the ticket manager, Bud Meredith, so I arranged for my son, who had purchased season tickets, and my 2 seats to be together. This created an opportunity for my son and two grandsons to sit together for the football games. I can't tell you how many years we did that, but a good many years.
Well, my first game was, I think I was 2 weeks old. So in 1997, and then every single game that I went to up until the 2019, you sat there with us.
Yeah.
Every game. There was not a game where you weren't there.
And let me tell you, there's nothing like watching Penn State football with your son and two grandsons.
Yeah, we had our fair share of ups and downs, that's for sure. A lot of time spent in there. A lot of yelling, but also a lot of highs.
And both my son and myself, still maintain season tickets side by side. I don't go to the games anymore, but I have family members, and I let them use the season tickets whenever they're available and can arrange the schedules.
How many games would you say you went to? I know that's kind of
Well,
a hard thing to...
since 1963, Penn State probably played 6 or 7 home games every year, and they now play 7 home games. So basically, I went to a ton of games here at Penn State.
For 56 years, you attended games.
That's correct.
Wow.
Yes.
Do you have any favorites?
I would say probably my favorite game was Nebraska in 1981, when
Something
Nebraska
like that.
was rated higher than Penn State in the national rankings, and they came in here and we beat them. That's probably my favorite game. But I saw some wonderful games, some upsets, both Penn State upsetting and Penn State being upset at Beaver Stadium.
I think a lot of consensus is Ohio State in 2005. That was probably the loudest, and my dad always says that's his most memorable one. And then Ohio State in 2016.
Yeah, Ohio State in 2016, I remember when...
But you left.
Yeah, I
You
left
left
before the
in the
game
fourth
was over,
quarter.
But there was a block field goal, which was returned for a touchdown, and that's the year Penn State won the Big Ten championship.
Yeah, a lot of memories in there. That's for sure. Okay, so that's it from Penn State, and that's it for today. We're gonna pick up tomorrow, and we're gonna head out to Bellefonte and see where you resided for the last 62 years.
This has really been a unique experience, and I appreciate Drew's efforts in doing this taping for our whole family and any other viewers that might be watching.
Yeah, it's been fun going around, so we'll see you guys tomorrow. Okay, it's a new day. We are a little bit outside of State College now in Valley View. We're just getting out of the car here to check out the old house. Okay, so...
You ready?
Yeah, so this was the first place you moved
Yeah.
from Springford.
Yeah.
And when did you move here?
1962 until 1974.
74.
So we ended up here in Valley View because Mary's aunt and uncle lived next door here, and they had just finished renovating this stone house here, and so we rented from them. They charged us $90 a month, and they never increased it.
And that's about $950 now
Today.
in today's world.
Yeah. So this is the first house that we had, and all of our 3 children lived here when they began their lives.
So what was it like living here for 12 years and
Oh, it was
raising 3 kids?
It was really great. The house was brand new because it just had been renovated, and you can see the outdoors kind of atmosphere that's here. So we enjoyed it very much. Of course, I was working at Penn State, So to take the back road to Penn State was very convenient. There was never any traffic.
Yeah, it's quiet
Oh, yes.
here and
Very,
peaceful.
very quiet.
Yeah. And the great thing was back then, the kids could run free, and we had a bell at the back door, and when it was time for them to come home, I rang the bell and they would come home.
And Mary's aunt and uncle had a swimming pool
Yeah.
when we were here, so the kids enjoy that during the summertime.
Put that garage on, remember back there?
Yeah.
Right up their house, way in the back. And my Aunt Betty.
Okay, so now we're moving into Bellefonte.
Into Bellefonte.
About 10 minutes down the road. And then that's where you moved from here, right?
That's correct.
Okay, here we are.
Okay. Gonna get out.
You need the walker.
I don't know.
Okay, so this is the home to where you moved after Valley View.
That's correct.
Linn Street in Bellefonte.
Right.
About 2 minutes from the town.
Yeah.
And how long did you live here for?
Well, we moved here in 1974 because we wanted to buy a house. So we finally found this house. And we moved here in 1974, and we lived here until 2019.
So 45 years?
Yeah,
47 years.
yeah.
Wow.
And this was a great house.
Yeah, it looks exactly the same as when you left.
So we enjoyed this house very much, and of course our kids could walk to the elementary school, to the middle school, and to the high school by living here.
So they spent a majority of their childhood here.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even I have so many memories coming up. For
Yeah.
Penn State games here that must have been about 22 years.
Is that right?
Every Friday driving up,
Yeah.
coming to here. I still vaguely remember the sense of the house, the bedroom, having waffles on Saturday, eggs on Sunday.
Wow.
Everything was exactly the same.
Well,
Yeah, great memories.
have-
Even for me in there.
I have fond memories of the house.
Yeah.
In spite of all the work I had to put into it, it was a great house.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so now we'll head into the town, drive around a little bit there.
Okay. So take a minute.
All right, so now we're in the center of Bellefonte. So you guys lived here for 62 years.
In 1962, when I accepted the job at Penn State, I remember I went home to Mary and I said, you know, that might be a nice place to spend the next 2 or 3 years. And here we are. We ended up living in Bellefonte for 62 years.
So tell me about the town here and just being here for so long.
Well, Bellefonte's a pretty historic town. I think it was incorporated in 1795. Bellefonte only has about 6,000 residents, and unfortunately it's landlocked, so there's no way to expand. So the tax base has remained pretty stable because there's no way to expand and increase taxes. But our kids went to through the Bellefonte school system. We went to church here in the Presbyterian Church. We made great friends. I grew up in Washington, California, Illinois, finally Pennsylvania. And I really never had a sense of hometown because I never lived any place long enough. So I really considered Bellefonte my hometown.
So where do you go here regularly?
Okay, I come in here every Thursday morning to go to coffee at the Diamond Deli in Bellefonte with my friends. I come to Bellefonte to go to the grocery store. Sometimes I just come over to shop in the stores and so forth. They have some little boutiques and antique shops and that kind of thing.
And you pop up, go to the Y.
Yeah, I go to the Y Monday, Wednesday, and Friday about 7 o'clock in the morning.
So even after moving a little bit outside of Bellefonte, you still come over here. It's still a staple in your life.
yeah.
Still come over. And then when Drew and his family come up, they always get pizza at the
Hofbrau, yeah, the
Hofbrau.
It's a great place.
And they love the pizza, so when they come up for football weekend, we usually enjoy pizza that Drew's father picks up at the Hofbrau.
And I would say too, this is sort of like a quintessential Pennsylvania, like small town. Would you say?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you were the mayor here at one point.
Yes, I was the mayor for 1 year. The mayor that was mayor could not finish his 4-year term. So they opened it up to applicants, and I made application and made a presentation to council. So I was voted by the council to be mayor, and I was mayor for 1 year. When it came time for re-election, although I did place my name on the ballot, I didn't really do any campaign at all. And a younger man who obviously wanted to be mayor of Bellefonte for a long time won the election. So I was happy to just spend the 1 year as mayor.
All right, that's it from Bellefonte. Now we're going to head over to where you spend a lot of time outdoors locally to here.
Yes, okay.
All right, so where are we now?
We're sitting in a car in a place called Fisherman's Paradise. Fisherman's Paradise is the fish hatchery run by the Fish Commission of Pennsylvania. This is one of 2 in the local area. A number of years ago, Rockview Penitentiary opened up this area and they developed a trail from here to Shiloh, which is about 3.5 miles away. So I spent a lot of time biking. I would start in Bellefonte and bike out here and bike to Shiloh and turn around and bike back.
Mountain biking?
Yes, on the road. This trail is hiked by many, many people every day, but it's been a real recreational plus to have this trail opened up.
How many times did you come over here in the 62 years of living around this area?
Well, once I started bike riding, I probably came here 2 or 3 times a week. One time, a friend and I, he was a kayaker, and he got me into kayaking, and we put in Houserville, which is quite a ways from here, and we floated down Spring Creek to right here where we took out. And we ran into all kinds of obstacles on Spring Creek, and it took us, seems like forever.
We called the police because they didn't come back.
So, but we survived.
Okay, that was our last stop. Now we're heading back to where you guys live currently.
Okay.
Okay, we're at our final stop, which is where you guys reside now.
Yes, when we decided to seek someplace else, it took us a while we wanted to stay in the Bellefonte area because that's where most of our friends were. So Pleasant Gap seemed to be the most reasonable place for us to move to. So in June of 2019, we picked up and moved to Pleasant Gap.
And this is a single level home,
This is a single
easier
level home,
for you to navigate in and out of.
so we could navigate in and out of easily, and we like it very much. It's
Good
almost,
community.
It's almost as if we have a new family.
Yeah.
Uh,
And very close to Bellefonte. That's right,
Yep,
right
within
over
5
from there.
miles of Bellefonte, and we just have made a whole new friends here.
And with that, that's going to wrap up this video. Thank you, Pop-Pop, for going around and showing me a little bit of your history here and all the places you've been over the years.
Well,
It was cool to see and gain a deeper understanding, I think, of central Pennsylvania and your life.
well, Drew, I appreciate you doing this effort. It's been a good experience, and it's brought back a lot of memories to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So thanks again.
Absolutely, yeah, you did well with it too. Alrighty, that's going to wrap things up. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed this one, and we'll see you next week for another video. Stay tuned.